if you were going to tell me that OpTic Chicago was going to go 0-2 and not win a single map, I would have told you to get out. I mean, what the hell, Ian, is going on there?
I mean, I don't want to say I called it, Katie, but I kind of called it. I said that OpTic they were going to be really good in the beginning of the game, right? Because it just comes down to straight talent. No one understands the game really, the best way to play certain situations, and over time, if they don't keep it up, other teams are going to learn the game. And then they're going to be able to get beat because in the CDL, there's so much talent in all these teams. Like there are so many good players in the league right now. And I think that's just what's happening. You've seen teams like Minnesota, like Florida, they've improved. You can tell that they've gotten better. They have a better understanding for the game. And it shows that OpTic's kind of lacking in that. They're just relying on their talent. Their S&D hasn't looked that great, which is another thing that I brought up. But I was a little surprised that they went back-to-back 0-3. They just they're behind. They're behind right now, especially when it comes to playing the game correctly, playing fundamentally correct. And so I don't know. It's like it's a pattern with them. I feel like it's happened in a lot of the past Call of Duties, and it's happening right now.
Complacency, Pacman?
I don't know if it's complacency, but it's kind of scary, right? Because what I saw was a breakdown in communication. That's what it felt like. A lot of the spots where they were losing, they were over challenging. They had numbers advantage. They were losing them over and over and over again. I remember a play specifically against Florida on Checkmate S&D. They had a 4v3 man advantage, and Envoy was across the map, and he knew one of the Florida players was there with him, right? So that means there's only 2 other people on the map, and somehow they let, I believe it was Neptune, flank them and get a free 2-piece and almost a 3-piece, which is unacceptable. You only have to worry about 2 other guys on the map. One of them is cornered. So how do you let this guy get behind you and get you killed for free when you have numbers advantage? All that means is you're not talking correctly. You're not communicating correctly. Something is going on where the comms are not clear, concise, and that's unacceptable. That's scary because that's hard to fix. Their search was never great, and it's never going to be great. It hasn't been great even when they were the best team. It's not going to be great. But their respawns have always been great, or at least above average. And then what happened? They lost both controls this week. I mean, they lost every map, so yeah. But they lost both controls, which is not that was their linchpin. That was their go-to. Like, we're going to win those. And, of course, they got blown out by Minnesota in the hard point. Lost a close one because Awakening went crazy. But that's going to happen over time. It's just when you're not winning those hard points, now the spotlight is on those S&Ds. And then that's when it starts looking a lot worse than it is. Because, damn, if you're not winning S&Ds, you have to be that great respawn team that we always talked about. We were calling them the best respawn team in the game. Well, they're not anymore. So now that spotlight is on that S&D. They have to figure it out.
Give me your thoughts. Do you think the meta change did anything in this discussion? Do you think it played a role? I mean, Dashy kind of was cheeky with folks about saying that the bad ARs, if you will be exposed with this meta shift, but he's negative in stage 2 so far. Do you think that's playing a role into OpTic troubles or not so much?
I mean, at first, I do think it's funny that he did say that, and it seems like he's kind of taking the biggest hit when it comes to no XM4. I don't want to say it's a big factor, but I do think it is a factor because, once again, I feel like OpTic relies on talent a lot in the beginning of these games, and they don't fully. I don't want to say that they're not trying to improve, but they just don't fully grasp the right way, like the best way to play. And when you have a do-it-all gun like an XM4, in someone like Dashy's hands, it really doesn't matter what he's doing on the map because he can just pop 2-3 pieces consistently. But when you take that away and you kind of put, not only him, but just players in more of a role-based play style, like he has to play slower with a Krig or a QBZ, he can't take over as easily if he's not playing his positionings better. If he's not just taking the advantageous gunfights. So I think it definitely is a factor. It's tough though that he's the one who said that, and he hasn't been playing too hot so far in stage 2.
What can they do to change then? They're struggling, like we said, you know, they haven't won a map, and it's going to start getting important for the next weeks coming up before the major. What do they do to fix this?
Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure they're a second set scrim team. They don't wake up for the morning one. They just gotta this week they gotta get up and play all 3 sets of scrims and just iron out those little details. At least get back to being a top respawn team. Even if you can't fix your search and destroy overnight or whatever it may be, make sure that you're on top of those respawns. You can't lose those ways. Like, they're supposed to be dominant on the raid. They lost 3 of them. You know what I mean? You just make sure you solidify those game modes, so at least you have that confidence that going forward. Those 1-0 advantages mean a lot. When you lose those searches, it's not that big of a deal to you. You can bounce back. Going down 2-0 though, that's just a death sentence.